Welcome to Demystifying Divinity with Joanna and Jenny.
Hi, this is Joanna. I channel messages from the Spirit in order to help people remember who they are and to embody their power.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I use intuitive astrology to help people remember their blueprints and soul contracts. And together, we're demystifying divinity, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Demystifying Divinity with Joanna and Jenny. We are well into our podcast. We are loving it. Joanna, are you loving it? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. Yeah, we're in the midst of eclipse season. We are feeling all the feels. It is nuts and crazy. And we're loving every minute of it. We're trying to.
I feel like I'm swimming in circles,
Okay.
but I'm not. This is weird. I feel like I'm swimming in circles, but I'm not stuck in one place. Okay. So even though it feels like I'm swimming in circles, apparently I'm making progress. You know, the spiral that keeps going up and up. Yeah.
Swimming, right? Because the North Node in Pisces rolls. It makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but my language.
But it feels like a lot of energy, a lot of shifts. It feels that way to me. Nothing bad, but it just feels like the motor is running on full. Like it's
so true. Thank you for sharing. I'm got a chest congestion thing and that I'm still working through. So it's just so interesting how these eclipses hit us and get us to slow down and all the things. So we're recording this in the midst of all the energy. That's why we're talking about this. But today we have a new topic. Joanna's going to surprise me. And so take it away, Joanna. What are we going to talk about on this particular podcast?
So today's topic is actually an inspiration from one of my YouTube channel viewers who commented on a video. And it was a video that I made that the title was From 3D to 5D. And then there was something else. And the person said, why are you skipping 4D? Just a question. I thought that's actually a really good question. Why am I skipping 3D or 4D? Why is everybody talking about 3D to 5D, but nobody really talks about 4D that I've noticed, not nearly as much. So I kind of went and inquired and I said to my guys, okay, well, show me what is this 4D thing? And right away, what I got was it's a space of in between. Well, obviously it makes sense, right? But it felt to me, and by the way, I have no knowledge on this subject. I am not an expert. So anything I'm getting right now, it's purely from my team. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's true, just full disclosure. But what I got was that this 4D was very mental. And then I did some research. And according to my research, 4D is when we start to question things. And I went, okay, that's why it's mental. It's like the space that separates the bridge, famous bridge that separates 3D from 5D. And ultimately, we are all moving towards more of the consciousness. So what is 5D consciousness? If I was to ask my team, all I want to say is that it's predominantly heart-based. It's not headless, but it's heart-based. So intellect is still intact, but the intellect or the ego is not running the show. Whereas in comparison to 3D, for most people, ego runs the show. And ego runs the show based on its own parameters that were passed on from generations to generations. And 4D is about questioning these parameters. So things like shadow work, inner child healing, ego death, questioning, what is my reason for believing this? Do I still believe in this? What is real? This is the period of where the person starts to question what's happening in their world, what's happening. And through these series of questions, a person begins to realize that they are fundamentally more than the parameters that they're used to. So they're becoming much more aware that they are no longer just an ego, but that there is something more to them. So according to my team, things like shadow work, the famous one, which we both love, Jenny and I talk about, is the death of an ego. that happens in quote unquote the 4D. Again, according to what I'm seeing, relatively very, very, very few people live in 5D in this world. Very, very few in comparison. Most live in 3D, but a substantial chunk right now from what I'm seeing is in the 4D. So there's this interesting equation. There's very few in 5D. There's a lot in 3D, and there is more and more in 4D, which tells me that there's more and more people entering their own inner space when they're beginning to question, quote unquote, who or what is my authority? Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting, right? So if you're listening to this podcast, you're likely in 4D, because if you were just very 3D oriented, these topics would be fluff to you. You just have no interest. So just by the virtue of you listening to this type of content, you are more likely than not in 4D. I'm not suggesting you're not in 5D, but I suspect you're in 4D. I am certainly not in 5D. I would love to be in 5D all the time. I have my moments where I go into 5D and then I get pulled back. Here's the interesting thing. When we are in 4D, we are oscillating between 5D and 3D. So we go more towards the 3D because it's what's known. And sometimes we peak into the 5D. But the 5D experience is relatively short because we're not used to that energy. So in the fourth density, we tend to bob and weave between 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4. The higher up we go in the fourth dimension, the closer we get to the fifth dimension, which means we begin to realize more of our wholeness, the closer we get to the 4D, which is heart-centered. So a 4D person will often oscillate between black and white, black and white, black and white, and once in a while, it'll step into the fifth dimension where it will begin to see everything as wholeness. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Because I'm channeling.
This is the best explanation of 3D, 4D, 5D that I've ever heard. And I have listened to so many podcasts on this. Please keep going.
Thank you, guys, because again, I'm just a messenger.
Yes.
And they keep assuring me that everything is okay.
Yes.
So, judgments. Okay. When we are in 3D, it's not that we focus on judgment. Judgments is just our thing. In 4D, we begin to look at judgments and we begin to question our judgments. When we move towards the 5D, it's not that we don't have judgments. We are not as judgmental, both ourselves and others. So I'm hearing myself saying to myself, gee, I wonder what the world would look like if it was judgment-free. And I have no freaking idea what that looks like. That's how far I'm off.
Yeah, all of us. Everyone.
So it's neither good nor bad. It's simply where I'm at. So I'm going to throw this in just because it's the perfect timing. If you want to experience more of 5D resonance, oh, I know what's coming. Drop the judgments.
Judgment detox, if you will.
And don't judge yourself for judging yourself. Just know that you are judging yourself and just go, okay, I'm judging myself. Does it feel good? If it feels good, continue doing it. Chances are it doesn't feel so good. So when you become consciously aware that you do something to yourself that doesn't feel good, you begin to go, wait a second, why would I choose that for myself? So a 4D person begins to recognize there are other choices and there are other options. And it's not that there were no choices or options before, it's just a strictly 3D person was not able to see it. So the more we venture into the 4D, we are more able to see things we were not able to see before. Not because they were not there, but our focus was somewhere else. And the more we focus on service versus focusing on self-service, the more we are coming from the space of the heart, which always moves us towards higher frequency. Does that make sense what I just said? Yeah? Okay.
It's
so,
up. It's up.
Don't judge yourself for being in 4D. If you were in 4D, you probably wouldn't need this material. So consider yourself in good company. What does a 4D person look like and feel like? For the most part, according to my team, they have reached a level of inner completeness when they feel peace, regardless of what's happening outside of them. And they have acceptance with whatever is. It doesn't mean they ignore, but and I'm like, to accept all that's happening in the world and be at peace with it. Oh my God.
Not there yet. Not there yet.
Thank you. Certainly not there. And I will be the first one to tell you whenever I see an animal being abused by obviously a human being, because another animal doesn't abuse another animal just for fun. They just don't have that consciousness. I think we should be more like animals. So when I see an animal being abused, I go to rage instantaneously. And then I have to walk myself off the edge. It's like, Joanna, you're supposed to look at it from love. It is hard. And I understand that there is a lesson in everything, that there is tremendous wisdom. And I understand that we are in a place of suffering, but I become a very 3D human in that instance. I am not a 50 person. But I don't fault myself for it. And it's not that a fifth-dimensional person doesn't care. It has no attachment to the outcome. And we humans have a lot of attachments to outcome.
That's the key right there.
That's the mic drop, as Jenny says.
That's the moment right there. It's the attachment.
Yeah. And that's because a fifth-dimensional purpose not only believes, but it knows it creates its universe. So it's fully in their power. It has physical limitations, but beyond that, they're a free agent.
Beautiful.
Most of us are not free agents. We're tied to certain things, certain authorities. Nothing wrong with that. So looks like in the 4D is where the expansion happens. It's where we begin to expand our minds and our own parameters. And I love the word they use, parameters, because parameters create a structure, right? Parameters aren't bad, but they're restricting. So in 4D, we begin to expand our parameters, which essentially means we begin to experience less limitations. And that's primarily because we become aware just how much we ourselves put limitations on ourselves. We become conscious of our inner programming and how we play into our inner programming. In other words, a 3D person is very rarely conscious of their programming. A 3D person doesn't know how their higher mind works. Doesn't mean they're not intelligent, doesn't mean that, but it's very conceptual. The 4D begins to almost break the veil where we're able to experience physicality and also otherworldliness at the same time, which makes the ego go, what? What was that? What was that? And it begins to get curious. So it looks like in 4D, there's a whole bunch of things collapsing, but at the same time, the collapsing of the old structures, including inner structures, most importantly, as we collapse these inner structures, we begin to expand our level of consciousness, which brings us closer to what's called a 5D. Because 5D is a higher consciousness. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just higher frequency. The higher up we go, the ladder, and I don't know how many layers there are. Some say 7, some say 12, some say 9, I have no idea. But the higher up we go, the ladder, if you will, the closer we are to source or whatever, some people call it God. That space is a space of total and utter unification. There is no separation.
Right.
So in order for us to experience being humans, we have to also experience separation to some level. So a 4D person, according to my guidance, is beginning to realize that they are not separate from source. So that makes the ego go, what? It makes the ego question, who am I? So famous question, who am I, is often presented in the 4D. It's like the person is in a position to reevaluate who they are being and making a conscious choice who they choose to be going forward. So they're no longer as manipulated by their own limiting parameters or programming. They are more conscious of their programming, and because they're conscious of it, they make the conscious choice to change it, or not to change it, but it's a choice.
But what an amazing explanation. I've listened to so many podcasts on this show.
Chills.
Yeah. This has been a mind blow just listening to you. And just to summarize for those listening, this is what I'm hearing you say. 3D is the great programming. D is the great unlearning. D is the great remembering.
Beautiful. Just got chills on that. Yes.
Woo! And that's where we're all at. I just got the chills. That's where we all are. And we get these moments, like you said, you get a moment of 5D. Wonderful. But to say that we're all living on our 5D, it's just incorrect. I mean, probably there are people, but I mean.
I'm going to throw something funny. This is kind of humorous the way it's presented to me. If someone comes up to you and says, well, I am a 5D person, I guarantee you they're not 5D person, because they wouldn't care to even say that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. They're not in comparison mode. Yeah, they're not in comparison mode. So that's generally the ego talking. And we talked about spiritual ego. We can have a conversation on that on some other time. But yes, spiritual ego tends to happen in 4D as well, especially in 4D. The good old spiritual ego. Okay, ego is not bad. We know about ego. So I said, okay, well, tell me something about 6-dimensional being. I kind of poked a little bit. And again, I have no idea if this isn't true. First and foremost, they said that most people are incapable of being on 6D because it requires them to have a more luminous body. I don't know if it's true. So it's like our physicality would have to be completely, the 3D body. We can be in the 5th dimensional consciousness with a physical 3D body. But the 6th-dimensional body is made up of more light, and our physical body is not designed to hold that much light. It would literally fry the system. That's what I'm getting.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting.
The light body people talk about.
Yeah, exactly. It's a light body. So the vision I got was that they still have bodies, but the word is luminous. They have luminous bodies. So they're like, dare I say, like, it's not see-through. It's almost like Jello. Our body is, like very physical. It's got some give to it. I don't know how to explain it. And okay, again, no idea if it's true. The way they eat is predominantly light. Their bodies are nourished by light. Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm sure they don't grow corn and apples. I don't think that's what's sick. Maybe they do, and they're luminous apples. I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is we're probably not going to end up in 6Ds while being in the physical bodies. But hey, if we can get to 5D and stay there, heck, let's just be conservative. 50% of the time, the entire world will change.
It would.
Right?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So we don't have to be all the way. It's like, that's unnecessary. It's if we can spend more time in 5D than in 3D. Okay, sorry, back up. Once you go through the threshold of 4D and you move into the 5D, you almost never, or if you do, very rarely go back to 3. Doesn't happen. You may go back to 4, but you're like, once you reach the 5th dimension or the 5th dimensional consciousness, it's like you're not going back because there's no need for you to learn the lessons associated with the 3D, if that makes any sense. It's like there's no need for you to go back. Whereas in 4th, there is this bobbing and weaving, a little bit here, a little bit there, and there's nothing wrong with that. No. It's also recognizing that we as humans have emotions because other types of beings, their emotions are very different. We have a lot of volatility. We have a lot of smorgasbord when it comes to emotions and flavors. I've noticed that higher dimensional beings, higher vibrational beings, the way I've experienced them, they have a wicked sense of humor. It's a very dry sense of humor, but their emotions are kind of sort of flat in comparison to our human emotions. But they have this very solid, very stable energy of just love. But it's not the squishy love. It's just like, you're just like, you're like safe and loved and together and all of it at the same time. And it just...
Beautiful.
So for those of you who are wondering, why would you choose to be a human? Predominantly because of all the emotions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with that. But let me ask you, Joanna, not everybody that's here on the planet with us right now, not everybody has signed up, if you will, soul contract. Not everyone has signed up to do the 45D thing. Am I correct?
Well, they've signed up to be here at this time, but what I'm getting is those who choose on an unconscious level not to move beyond the 4D are acting as a contrast. That's interesting because we need contrast, right?
I like that.
So we could say that those who are not transitioning to 4D, we need them
Yes.
for contrast.
Yes.
So they're very valuable. I love that explanation, actually.
I love it too.
So if you're saying, hey, you're in 3D and I'm in 5D, no, this 3D human is playing you a favor.
Yeah, there are teachers, there are helpers, and it allows us to see God in everyone. Yes, even him, her,
Mm-hmm.
her.
Yeah, I just got chills on that. That's
There's
beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yeah. Thank you. You can love someone and not necessarily agree with their choices. You don't have to hate them.
No, and very, go ahead.
I don't feel and I don't believe that hate exists in 5D. If it does, then there are some anomalies and they probably have what I'm seeing is it's almost they consider it as a person who is not well and they are taken care of in some facilities. It's almost such an abnormal thing. That's what I'm getting.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, that would be very rare.
People that staying in 3D or whatever, right? It allows us to be grateful for the lessons learned and them being some of our greatest teachers.
Forgiveness.
It allows us God in them. It allows us to forgive. It gives us such great permission slips, I feel like it's so freeing to see it this way.
I would almost say this. They are probably our greatest teachers. Even though my brain is not computing it, that's what I want to say. Like I was saying at the very beginning, when an animal is being tortured and a human does it, I want to hate a human. And I instinctually it's like anger. And for me to go, okay, and actually get to a point where I send love and forgive that person, which is what I tend to do when I get really good at it. It's not always easy. It's because sometimes I want to stay angry because let's face it, sometimes it feels good, right? But to actually remove myself from my anger, which is my ego, and see the perpetuator, the person who's perpetuating this pain on another, as someone who is not broken inside, but who believes that they're so broken, they have to hurt another being. I feel sad. Did I just say that? That's not an easy thing to do always, especially if you have been hurt by someone, if somebody has been hurting your family. We want to retaliate. It's very, very challenging to forgive. But forgiveness is what brings us freedom, right? At the end of the day. So not every 3D person can do that. In fact, very few just 3D person can do that because it requires coming from the heart, not from the logic, right? So when I get angry and I just want to hurt the other person, it's like my human instinct is kicking in. Because the human instinct is about preserving life, not destroying life. It's our instinct. We get all safe and make sure we don't do this because we don't want to die. It's an instinct. We are instinctually wired to preserve life. So when we see somebody taking someone's life, we naturally instinctively just, that makes sense to me, actually. Yeah. So I said to Jenny at the beginning, so this is the topic. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. And I've been talking for 25 minutes. I hope it's making sense.
You have been channeling amazing information, and I'm so grateful for this conversation. I think a lot of people are going to love this one because what is 3D, 4D, 5D? I have read the articles. I have listened to the podcast, and I think it just all clicked together right here in this conversation. I'm so grateful for this.
So if any of you are going through inner child healing, a famous ego death, you are spiritually awakening. You are awakening to your spiritual self. You are in the process of rediscovering who you really are beneath and underneath the structures you call your beliefs. And when you make the distinction between you and your beliefs, you are less likely to identify with what you believe. Example, and I'm going to use profane words. If you feel like shit, does that make you shit? No, it doesn't. But how many of us identify with how we feel? Right? So the fourth dimension, or the bridge, it's shown to me as the bridge between the 3 and the 5, is not only about questioning and realizing that ultimately at the end of the day, our purpose, get ready for this, ultimately, according to my source, ultimately, our purpose is to be love, which is what we are underneath of everything we understand.
Mm.
We are love in disguise.
Be the light. Yes.
So how you love, how you show up, how you hold love, how you withhold love, how you give love, how you share love, how you don't, that's each and everybody's path. But at the end of the day, I'm here to remind myself and to remember that I'm here to love. How I choose to love will depend on the beliefs I have about myself, what I deem is true or not true, and how confident I feel in being true to myself. Because when you're true to yourself, you don't really spend too much time trying to impress anybody. I mean, you can if you want to, but your validation of you does not depend on another human being or another person, because you own it. So thank you. So the 4D transition is also about helping you own your truth, own your authority. Cliche, own your power. Yeah, well, I like that.
I love it.
Yes.
That's so clear too, because I think a lot of people that listen to podcasts like this and read the books and stuff, they wonder, well, am I ascending? Because this is what everybody's talking about. This is the great ascension. This is the great awakening of humanity. And I think that, well, if you are doing the great unlearning that the 4D is encouraging and putting out there, if you are less likely to be offended, if you don't get as triggered or as upset for, maybe it used to upset you for a month and now it only takes 45 minutes. Like if you're noticing these kind of changes in the unlearning process of the 4D, yeah, you're ascending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On top of it, I would also say you wouldn't be watching or listening to this type of content if you were not. Now, does that mean that people are not ascending? But does that mean that some people are ascending, but they're not conscious of it? They wouldn't call it ascension. They would probably call it as something in me is changing and I don't know why or what. Because just because a person doesn't have... So I'm asking a question. Can an atheist be ascending? And they're like, absolutely. Have you never seen atheists change their minds? But if you're an atheist, doesn't mean that you're not ascending. Atheists. So atheists don't believe in God. Do atheists believe in anything? Apparently, they're not sure what to believe in. Okay. All right, I'll take that. They're funny. And that's okay. They can choose to believe whatever they believe. Doesn't mean they're not a spiritual being. Doesn't mean they're not spiritual being.
Wonder, like, am I doing this right? And it's like, yeah, well, have you improved? Are you working on yourself? And have you been called to work on yourself? I think that's a huge sign too. It's like, wait a second, I've got to take responsibility for myself here.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I certainly did.
This was an amazing one, Joanna.
So when I say my guides have a sense of humor, they have a sense of humor. They match me because I have a very interesting sense of humor too. I'm kind of quirky that way, but I just love their sense of humor. It's like, oh, no wonder I love channeling. All right, guys, we look forward to seeing you again, or if you're on Spotify, hearing you again. And do give us comments if you like this, what you liked about it, what you would like to hear us talk about, and we'll make sure to make that happen. Okay, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And please share this fab convo with someone who you love.